Oprah recently came out and said she has the obesity gene, and her weight struggles were never about willpower or discipline, but instead about biology. And to say the least, the internet exploded about those comments. People saying things like, well, if you have the obesity gene, where is the discipline gene? Where is the willpower gene? You're just delaying and defecting accountability and personal responsibility. So in this episode of the Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast, we're going to be covering, do genetics play a role in obesity? If so, how much of a role do they play? And even if you are somebody who may have some of these bad genetics that lead to obesity, how would you be able to overcome those and still see the fat loss progress that you want to see? That's what we're going to dive into today. So the first fallacy that I want to break for you is the belief that it's 100% black or white in either direction. Meaning, oh, you have the bad genetics, so you can't lose weight. Or you have great genetics, and that's the only reason why you lose weight and stay in shape. We all know these kind of people, right? You'll have somebody who you feel like they eat nothing, but they still gain weight. And on the flip side, you have these people who they can eat anything they want, and somehow they still do not gain weight. Meanwhile, you're over here eating 1,200 calories and not being able to lose any weight. And those people piss you off. I know that. But those are two different people who have two different genetics. And I have the saying or the phrase of like, genetics can set the difficulty of the video game that you're playing. So let's say you're playing Call of Duty or playing FIFA or Madden or whatever. You can set the difficulty. You can play on easy mode or you can play on hard mode. But you still have to play the game. And so you can't necessarily control the cards that you were dealt. Let's say I don't condone this, but let's say you were gambling, you were at a poker table, for example, and the dealer hands you cards. Well, you don't get to pick which cards you have. And some people will get a full house. Some people will get the best hand. They'll have the highest metabolism. They'll have the best hormones. They'll have the best hunger. Whereas other people, they get dealt the shittier hand and they don't get the best genetics. They don't get the best hormones. They don't get the best satiety cues. And that just means how full you are. But the person who has the best cards can still lose if they mess it up. And the person who has the worst cards can still win if they play the game right. And that's how I like to think about genetics and fat loss as they go hand in hand. And when we talk about genetics, what specifically are we talking about? Because you might hear this, I have bad genetics, and that's why I can't lose weight. That's why my whole family is overweight. Well, let's dive into what some of these genetics actually are. And the first one I want to dive into is the hunger gene, and kind of going into the science of appetite, the science of hunger, the science of fullness. So you can think, if you want a framework, think of this as not everyone experiences hunger the same way. So, for example, you have a friend who finishes a very big dinner. You guys ate the same amount of food. You are stuffed after that meal. You're like, God, I don't know how I could eat anymore. Whereas your friend is looking at the dessert menu 5 minutes later. You're like, how the fuck could they possibly think about eating right now? I am beyond full. But it's because that person's hunger genetics, hunger cues, they are physically different and empty compared to yours. Some people may take an extra 20 or 30 minutes to actually feel hungry after the food that they eat, whereas you may feel hungry immediately after the food you eat. Now, could you say this is an obesity gene? There's no such thing as an obesity gene, but genetics would play a role. And by the way, that person is me. I had this happen last night. I went out to dinner and I had chicken teriyaki, which is like rice and a bunch of vegetables and a bunch of chicken. And then I had 2 massive sushi rolls. There was 8 rolls on each one. And I was like, I could have eaten 2 of those. Like I could have eaten 2 of the chicken teriyaki and 2 of the sushi rolls that I just ate. I have a very big appetite. And so I understand this in people. If you're that kind of way as well, that's me too. So I get it. But just because the genetics influence your satiety signals, which again, satiety just equals how full you are. So your genetics can impact that, and they can impact hormones like leptin and ghrelin. So if you haven't listened to one of my more recent podcasts that I put out last week, you should. It's a 50 minute deep dive into hunger hormones. I think it's one of the best podcasts I ever did. So if you want to go check it out, just head to episode 950, maybe is what it was, on the Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast. But go listen to that. But when we talk about these hormones, leptin, ghrelin, leptin is the hormone that tells your body, I'm full, I'm satisfied, I don't need any more food. Ghrelin is the hormone that tells your body, I'm not full, I'm not satisfied, I need more food. So for some people, off the bat, because of their genetics, their leptin, the hormone that tells your body you're full, is lower, and their ghrelin, the hormone that tells your body you're hungry, is higher. So again, you might be starting from a different starting point than somebody else, and the signal to being full and to stop eating is weaker or more delayed. So it could potentially make it harder, because if you don't get full after you just had a 2,000 calorie meal, well, that's a lot of extra calories that you are consuming, which would then lead you to gain body fat because of the extra calories that you are consuming. So for those naturally thin people, the people who you feel like they don't eat anything, or like no matter what they do, they're just skinny. Think of it like a radio volume, like a volume knob in your car. The hunger noise volume for those naturally skinny people would be at like a volume 2. It's very easy to ignore, and or they don't even really notice it because the volume is turned down too low. For someone, quote unquote, with the obesity gene, or just with genetics that aren't as advantageous to losing body fat and maintaining a healthier weight and being more full, that noise on the volume knob is cranked up to a 10. So all they think about is like when they get done a meal, they're like, man, I'm still hungry. Like I could still eat more. When's my next meal? So that volume knob is much higher. It's harder to ignore. Imagine, we all do this. When you're driving somewhere you've never been, you turn down the volume so you can like concentrate and know where to go. God knows why we do that, but we do that. It's hard to focus and concentrate when the volume is so high. So you turn it down. But for some people with their genetics, it's harder to turn down that volume knob, and it's harder to ignore the constant food noise, so to speak. That being said, even though it's harder, you can still choose to not listen to the music. You can still choose to do things to turn the volume down. It's just going to require more effort. And that's a different conversation for a different day. And we'll actually talk about that a little bit later in the podcast as well, of like, it might be harder for you, but again, like we said about the other earlier analogy, those are the cards you are dealt. So you have to deal with the cards that you are dealt. But that's how hunger hormones and hunger genetics may play a role in your weight loss or your ability to lose weight, or how easy or hard it is for some people. And this is also why some people really struggle with their nutrition, especially Because if you are somebody who has a volume 10 on the hunger scale, your plan might be completely different for somebody who only has a volume 3 on the hunger scale. Like, think about this for a second. You would need a different plan. So a lot of people just go on social media, they go on TikTok, they go on Instagram, and they see these people following certain diets or following certain calorie amounts or saying, oh, well, this worked for me. Well, that's great. But you have to figure out where you fall on this is just the one example of the hunger hormone scale, because you may need, for example, way more high volume, low calorie foods than maybe somebody who doesn't have as much of an appetite or a hunger problem or issue as you do, because you need to do all that you can to mitigate that hunger volume in your head. So your plan would look much different. Maybe you would need to eat every 2 to 4 hours so you can kind of like get through those hunger noises and kind of satisfy it a bit along the way, but still keep it within your total overall calories for the day. So this is actually why, one of the many reasons why I believe our clients are so successful that work with us, is because we really tailor the plan specifically to them. And we figure out all these things that are going on and we build the plan around them to help them be more successful. So if you're interested in learning more about how we work with our online coaching clients, you can click the link in the show notes of this podcast, or for those of you who are watching on TikTok, you can click the link in my bio to learn more about our online coaching program. Cool. All right, so let's go into the next part of the podcast. So we talked about hunger genes and hunger hormones. Now, let's talk about the calorie burn gene. And I want to explain the natural calorie burn in one person versus another without like breaking out a fucking textbook and like getting too technical with you guys. I'm going to take a swig of my energy drink for a second here. So the issue is, people will blame their slow metabolism. We've heard this before. You have probably said this before, especially people, you guys who are like older than 30, which by the way, I'm going to turn 30 this year, but you guys that are older than 30, you're the fucking worst. Like the worst, bro. Somebody will be 36 years old and say, oh, my metabolism, it's so slow. I'm like, no, it's fucking not. They have done studies to show physiologically your metabolism doesn't even start to slow down until 60. And even when it does start to slow down, it's very minimal year over year. The reason your metabolism is slow is what we'll talk about here in the podcast. But you guys who are over 30, just please don't tell me that ever again. I don't want to hear it. Because the real culprit of a slow metabolism is a lack of movement and a lack of lifestyle choices. So let me explain. For those of you who are watching this podcast on YouTube, or those of you who are watching this on TikTok Live right now, you probably see me talking with my hands a lot, right? And you probably see me very animated. What you also don't see, and maybe some of you can tell, but like I'm constantly tapping my foot underneath my desk. Like I just can't sit still. I can't sit on the couch and not do anything. I have to like be tapping my foot or doing like, I have to move. So me, and also you can probably tell, I have to stop myself sometimes from talking so fast because I also am just naturally higher energy and I talk very fast. Someone like myself, I burn a ton more calories than the average person, because of something called NEAT. NEAT. And this is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So for this 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, however long this podcast will be, I'm not exercising. I'm not doing I did my workout earlier today. Right now, I'm not exercising, but I'm burning a lot more calories than you are. Maybe you're doing cardio when you're listening to this. I'm not sure. But the average person who's just listening, sitting at their desk or driving home from work or cooking dinner, whatever, I'm burning more calories because I'm always moving. I'm not intentionally trying to do any of this. This is just my genetics, and this is just how I have always been. So I will burn a lot more calories than maybe you, where you don't always tap your foot and you're not talking with your hands a lot and you're more mellow and not as psychopathic as I am at times. So I am somebody who is very inefficient with their calorie burn in a good way. What I mean by that is think about a hybrid car versus for those of you who are watching, versus a V8 engine in a Lamborghini, for example. The hybrid car is very efficient at not using fuel, so it doesn't burn a lot of gas. The V8 engine, that burns a lot of gas just sitting at a red light. Maybe unless you have the auto start turned on, which I know we all turn off, let's be honest. So those two vehicles are different from a calorie burn perspective. So if you were made, if your parents made you with a hybrid engine, but for real, if you're somebody who is more of the hybrid engine, you're not going to burn as many calories, which, again, would make it more difficult for you to have a higher calorie burn, to have a higher maintenance calories, to be able to not gain weight. And some of you are going to be mad at this, and understandably so. But in the past 6-ish weeks, I've lost about 14 pounds. I've been able to eat 2,800 calories per day and do that. I know, you're going to be mad. I understand. But that's just the reality of it. So also, I'm 6'4". I was 255 pounds. I like to think I have a decent amount of muscle mass to me. So there are other factors at play, but one of the main reasons is my metabolism is just naturally higher versus maybe you, who you might be 5'3", and you might not have a super high energy, and your calorie burn might be much lower than mine just on a regular daily basis. So that would make it harder for you to lose weight. Not impossible, but if you are somebody with the hybrid engine, you can't eat like somebody with the V8 Lamborghini engine. And that makes it harder. I don't know what else to say. Like, that is going to make it more difficult for you. Also, quickly tying in a little bit more of the metabolism factor here, I just mentioned when I was 16 years old, I started getting into the gym and really focusing on muscle building. So I am 29 years old at the time of this podcast. So I've had the past 13 years in my pocket of building muscle. Now, those are my actions. I decided to do that because growing up, actually, I was not, I was naturally very, very skinny. So I didn't have any muscle mass on me. So I spent the past 13 years trying to, get jacked. And I'm still not jacked, but such is life. Which, by the way, that always makes me laugh at people who are like, I don't want to get too bulky. I'm like, trust me, I've been trying my entire life. It's not that fucking easy. So with those 13 years of muscle building comes with a higher calorie burn per day by doing nothing. Because muscle tissue is metabolically expensive. And what that means is you have to burn more calories to maintain the amount of muscle that you have, other than, besides fat. So fat requires no energy to keep. Muscle requires a lot of energy. Energy equals calorie burn. So not only do I have a super high metabolism and I'm always fidgeting and doing all these things, I've also spent the last 13 years building muscle, which stacks onto my calorie burn per day. Along with the building muscle, also somebody who has had to learn how to eat very high protein every day because I'm trying to build muscle. Protein has the highest thermic effect of food. For every 100 calories of protein you eat, your body burns up to 30 of those calories. So really, it's net 70 calories. So if you're eating 600, 700, 800 calories of protein per day, It's not like you're actually eating 800 calories of protein, because your body burns up to 30 of the calories for every 100 you eat. So you stack that on top of it. I'm very intentional about walking around and getting my daily steps, even though I sit at a desk all day, doing work and doing content. So you start to stack all of these things on top of each other. Someone like myself, I might have an advantage, but there's also lifestyle factors at play and specific actions that I am choosing to do that play into my higher metabolism. You can't choose if you are naturally fidgety. No, I'll give it to you. But you can choose how many steps you take per day. You can choose if you decide to lift weights and build muscle every week or not. You can decide and choose if you want to eat higher protein. So these things are in your control. Now, you might still not burn as many calories as me, but that's not the point. The point is you can take specific actions in your lifestyle to increase your metabolism. Some people just choose not to do it. And that would be a choice on you, not a choice on your genetics. Make sense? So now that we talked about calorie burn in specific, I want to get into the next part of the podcast here, which is, I think, potentially one of the most important parts of this whole genetics and hormones and those sort of conversations, talking about what's going on in between your ears. But really quickly, before we get into the mindset component of this, just want to again remind you, if you're listening to this and you're like, shit, this guy Eric actually knows what the hell he's talking about. He's speaking common sense. And if you're somebody who wants some extra personalized help in your weight loss journey, you can click the link in the show notes of this podcast, or for those of you watching on TikTok Live, you can click the link in my bio to learn more about our online coaching program. Cool? Great. Now, the mindset trap. I think this is one of the most important sections to discuss, and it's discussing the danger of believing you are powerless and out of control. And after I swig my energy drink, I'll tell you what that means. So the mistake that people make here is externalizing control. It's out of my hands. So why even try? Even if you don't say it out loud, in the back of your head, and I'm going to call some of you out right now. You're not going to like this, but I'm not here to make you like me. I'm here to actually help you live in a body that you don't hate. A lot of you listening to this in the back of your head, you think, well, it's just my genetics. No matter how hard I work, it's not gonna happen for me. I'm just born to be fat. It's my age. I'm just old. I'm going through perimenopause. I have PCOS. I have Hashimoto's. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna lose the weight anyway. It doesn't matter how low of calories I eat. A calorie deficit doesn't work for me because of this. And I'm gonna talk about perimenopause and PCOS. I'll talk about that stuff a little bit later. But the reason that this is a fatality and it will cause your weight loss mortality is because if you don't truly believe that it's in your control to change it, you will not ever do what is necessary to change it. So for example, why would you push through the hard times on your calorie deficit if deep down or subconsciously you don't believe that it's even going to work? You wouldn't. That would make no sense. Why would you get up early in the morning to go work out when you don't feel like it, when your bed is so warm and you have low motivation, if you don't even believe that it's going to matter anyway? You wouldn't. You would stay the fuck in bed. So for a lot of you who are struggling with consistency and you always fall off and you always have to restart Monday, there's many things that could be at play there. But one of them, I can almost assure you, is you don't have the belief that it's actually going to work for you because of external factors. And unfortunately, there's not much else I can do for you if you cast away control to something else, because that is now in control, not you. And you won't take the actions necessary. The analogy that I often use here is genetics load the gun. Your lifestyle and your actions pull the trigger. Like a loaded gun sitting on the table, it does nothing, but it only fires if you pick it up and pull the trigger. You can't like unload the gun. That's your DNA, that's your genetics. But you can refuse or change the target, or however you want to get this analogy to come into your head. You get to choose what you do with it. So like I said earlier, I can't choose that I have a high metabolism. I also can't choose that I have a very high appetite. Like I said earlier, I struggle with, I'll get done meals and I'm starving. But I don't choose to say, well, just because that's the case, I'm bound to be overweight. Like, no, I come up with certain strategies that help me mitigate that and work through that. And that's the same way you have to approach this as well. And I'm going to give a little bit of a tough love moment here for you, which again, a lot of you are not going to like this, but I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to actually help you. It makes you feel better in the moment to cast away blame to your age, to your genetics, to your hormones, to my entire family's overweight. I never learned about food. I don't have time. Insert whatever you want. It will make you feel better in the moment. But the issue is your situation will never change. So you will always be miserable with how you look and how you feel and how you act and how you look in the mirror. That will never change. And it's all because you are choosing something in the short term to blame to make you feel better about why you're not where you want to be. I know this is tough to understand, and it's hard to get this honest with yourself, but that is the reality. Because do you know anybody who is in menopause and has lost weight? Do you know anybody who has PCOS and they've lost weight? Do you know anybody who has bad genetics and has lost weight? That means you can too. And the issue with this is the longer you choose to cast this blame out to genetics or hormones or age or insert anything here, the longer you stay stuck, the longer you stay miserable, the longer you have to deal with walking past a full-length mirror and never liking what you see. The longer you have to avoid taking pictures when you go on vacation because you don't like what you see or how you look. So I just challenge you, what is really the hard part? Is it hard to get brutally honest with yourself about, are you really tracking your calories every single day? Are you really hitting your workouts? Are you really staying on track on the weekends? I'm recording this on a Sunday for those of you watching live on TikTok. Did you really stick to your diet this weekend, or did you fuck around again? You think if you stuck to your diet this weekend, your age 43, perimenopause, Hashimoto, like, do you think it would at least help? I think so too. So it's hard to get honest, but it's also hard to keep living in a body, in a life, in a situation that you're miserable in. So I'm just here to try to hopefully open your eyes and hopefully give you some of this, unk. That's what the kids say nowadays. Some unk love to you that, like, stop bullshitting yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop blaming other things. Yes. And this is one of the last things I'll cover here. Stop waiting for it to be fair. Guess fucking what? Life isn't fair. And for all of you parents out there, I know you probably tell your kids this. Oh, life isn't fair. Why is this person better at this sport? Or why do I have to spend so much time studying? Life isn't fair. But then you go to yourself on your fitness journey. Oh, well, I just have bad genetics. Life isn't fucking fair, Cheryl. I don't give a shit if you have bad genetics. You can sit there and complain about it and use it as an excuse and bitch about it. Or you can just accept it, because what else are you going to do? You can accept it and then choose to do something about it. Stop waiting for it to be fair. Stop complaining that your friend gets to eat pizza and still stay thin while you feel like you can only eat the salad and you can't stay thin. Stop complaining, oh, Eric gets to eat 2,800 calories and still lose weight, but I can only eat 1,400. Like, it's not going to be fair. And your body doesn't care about fairness. Your body fat levels don't care about fairness. If you have bad genetics, it's going to be harder, okay? Like, I don't know what else to fucking tell you. But it would be harder to climb the mountain, but the view at the top is the same. Imagine somebody who is fully able-bodied, totally fine, climbing up a mountain. And then imagine somebody who maybe they need a cane to walk. And somehow, some way, they still get their fucking ass up that mountain. Number one, who do you have more respect for? And number two, they both end up at the same spot. Yeah, it might have been harder for this person with the cane who can barely walk. It might have taken them longer, but they still got to the top of the mountain. And you can too. And guess what? You'll also probably love yourself more because of it. You'll also probably go through the journey where it's not easy. Like, for example, I didn't come from money. Like, I didn't come from money. So me building my business and becoming financially successful and helping other people on my team and my company become financially successful, like, that feels that much better to me because I didn't come from shit. Nobody handed anything to me. I've showed up every single day for the past 6 years. I have the motherfucking receipts. Go fucking look at them. I've posted every fucking day. I've done a podcast multiple times a week, every fucking week. YouTube videos, emails, everything. So that feels fucking good. And I have a certain level of confidence and bravado to myself because it hasn't been fucking easy. You want that same level of confidence? You want to feel a certain way? You want to be able to look in the mirror and actually like what you see and like the person and respect the person you see? It's when you go through the hard shit. You don't do it when it's fucking easy. Anybody can do that. That's why everybody does do it when it's easy, and then they fucking quit when it gets hard. If you want to stop quitting when it gets hard, if you want to stop being the person who just starts for a bit when they're super motivated, and then Thursday, Friday rolls around, you fall the fuck off again, maybe it's time to fucking stand up and accept the fact that it's not going to be fair and you're going to have to work harder. Because here's one of the final things I'll tell you. When you can just accept that it's going to be harder and you're going to have to work more and you're going to have to put in more effort, when you can just accept that, it actually gets easier because you're not waiting and you're not complaining and you're not delaying your actions anymore because it's hard. You just accept that it's hard. And then you can do what you want with it from there. It gets easier. It's a crazy concept, I know. So please, if you felt like you were dealt with a bad hand, if you feel like your genetics suck, you feel like you just can't do, like, that's fine. Either sit there and bitch and complain about it, which, by the way, I'm just, again, going to be honest with you. I'm not saying you can't voice your feelings, because we all have bad or negative feelings, frustration, emotions at times, but like just complaining to other people, number one, it just makes you feel worse because you feel like a fucking complainer. And number two, nobody else wants to hear it anyway. I'm just going to be honest with you. And again, there's a difference between, you can voice your emotions. That's one thing, but just like chronically complaining, let's be honest, it drives you insane. And it drives the other person insane too. Let's just stop. Like, let's just not do this anymore. So that's it. The ball is in your court. Yes, genetics play a role. Yes, it can make it easier or harder, but you can still get to the top of the mountain if you choose to do what you need to do, what you should be doing, what you have to do with your lifestyle. And it's not going to be fair. And somebody else is going to lose weight quicker than you. And somebody else is going to get in shape easier than you. Somebody else is going to maintain their weight loss easier than you. Who the fuck cares? As long as you get to the top of your mountain, doesn't that matter? Don't you want to see the view? Don't you want to get up there and stay there? doesn't fucking matter what anybody else is doing. Focus on yourself. Focus on what needs to be done. And I promise you, you will not regret taking your life into your own hands, getting rid of the excuses, putting control back into your life. It'll be hard at first. You're not going to want to get brutally honest with yourself about your calorie intake per day, about your alcohol consumption on the weekends, about you making time for your meal prep or your walks. It's going to be hard, but just choose that hard right now versus choosing a life of casting blame and control and the feeling of powerlessness out to other things and then living a miserable life. And I know you don't want that. And I don't want that for you, which is why I'm being so honest with you right now. So that is the podcast for today. You guys, a couple last things I want to hit on here, just some of the objections that I hear. I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes first. So one of the objections or pushbacks I will get is people, oh, you don't understand PCOS or thyroid issues or hormonal imbalances. You know, it's not just calories in, calories out. When your body is fighting against it, it's impossible for us. And I hear you. I do. And I actually agree, because we've coached thousands of clients with PCOS, hypothyroidism, perimenopause, menopause, you name it. That is the analogy I talked about, the loaded gun. That's that. Like, you can't change the fact that you have hypothyroidism. You can get on medications and you can do what you need to do, but you can't change that. However, it makes it harder. It doesn't make it impossible. Like I said earlier, do you know anybody who's lost weight with PCOS? Oh, and by the way, if you don't, check out some of our client testimonials and check out some of the podcasts I've done with our clients. Why do you think, like, for my podcast, I don't bring on other fitness professionals. Like, I bring on our clients who have actually seen results with PCOS, Hashimoto's, menopause, perimenopause. Why? Because I need you, the listener, the viewer, to actually fucking understand this is possible. So if you don't believe it, go listen. Type in Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast PCOS, Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast Hashimoto's, Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast Menopause. The episodes are going to come up with our clients who say, yeah, it was harder, but I still lost 70 pounds. I have a client coming to mind right now. Her name is Sabrina. She's lost over 80 pounds with PCOS. She talks about it in the podcast. And she talks about how it was harder, but she did X, Y, and Z, and she's lost weight. So I agree that these conditions make it harder, but it doesn't make it impossible. You just may need to adjust your plan. You, unfortunately, may need to eat less calories because you have Hashimoto's than somebody who doesn't. I can't do anything about that. That is the situation you are dealt. So you can bitch about it and say it's too hard and you're not going to do it, or you do what needs to be done. It really is that simple. So, and this is also why, if you want help with your plan, click the link in the show notes of the podcast, or click the link in my bio for those of you watching live on TikTok to check out our online coaching. This is what we do. We will build a plan fully personalized to yourself. So check it out if you would like. So that's one of the main objections I get about this. Now, the second objection that I get is calories in, calories out doesn't work. You know, the person who, I eat 1,000 calories a day and gain weight. Explain that. My genetics are broken. If this is you and you feel like this is you, the first thing I would ask you is, if I would have followed you around for the last 30 days and I saw everything that you did, maybe not everything because that would be an invasion of privacy, that'd be a little bit weird, but all the fitness things that you did, the food you ate, the food you didn't eat, the calories you tracked, the calories you didn't track, the alcohol you drank, the alcohol you didn't drink, the workouts you did versus the workouts you didn't do. I saw everything that you did with fitness, and I was following you around with a camera for the last 30 days. Could you look me in the face and tell me calories in, calories out doesn't work? Most of you are now rethinking your stance on that. It's true. So that would be the first thing. The second thing would be, again, you may have the hybrid engine car that we talked about earlier. You may be somebody who you might have a slower metabolism than somebody who has a normal or a high metabolism. So you may need to go lower in calories than somebody else. You may need to find different ways to increase your calorie burn in ways that other people don't. For example, we've coached a lot of ladies who are short, petite, 5 foot, 5'1", 5'2", 4'11". And for those, I tell those ladies straight up, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you have like 50 pounds to lose, not that big of a deal. But once you get down to losing the last like 20-ish pounds, 25 pounds, you're probably gonna have to do more extra cardio than most of our other clients, because your calorie burn is just so low that you would need to go so low in your calories to create the calorie deficit. So I'm like, you're probably gonna have to do 2 times, 3 times a week of 30 minutes of cardio. You can't just do daily steps. You'll probably have to add in extra cardio. And that's just the reality of it. And because they know and they expect that, it's not a big deal. But they do have to do different things. So that's the second part of it. You may just be dealt worse cards than somebody else, but there are still ways that you can get it done. There are still ways where calories in, calories out will always only be the only answer to weight loss or weight gain. It's unless there's one caveat. Unless you're a plant, like you're a tree, or I don't know any other plants, but if you're a plant and you run off photosynthesis, then no, calories in, calories out won't work for you. But if you are a human being, calories in, calories out will always work for you. So that's the second, kind of biggest objection that I get. And the third biggest objection is, I kind of call it the privilege objection, which is, somebody says, hey, it's easy for you to say. You're a personal trainer. Your whole job is to do this. Some of us work 2 jobs and can't afford healthy food, or can't afford a personal trainer, or stressed and all these things. And again, there's this trend right now, 2016. I started training people in person in 2016. I know this well, but since 2016, I've coached people. Over the course of this will be my 10th year coaching. Over the course of my 10 years, myself and my team have coached over 25,000 people. So you can imagine, through those 25,000 people, we've coached some people who work 3 jobs, single mom with 3 kids, works night shifts, you name it. Like we've worked with a lot of people. And I'll just give it to you straight. Like, it's harder. It's harder to, quote unquote, buy the correct food. It's harder to find time to go work out. It's harder to pay for a gym membership. It's hard. Like, it's more difficult. Yes, we are in agreement. But my answer is also always this. Do you want to be right? Or do you want to lose the weight? Do you want to be right about, it's harder for me, that's why I can't do it? Cool, you're right. Would you rather be right, or would you rather find a way to lose the weight? Which one is it? Because it's possible. So would you rather just be right that it's hard, or would you rather, instead of looking for excuses why you can't, why don't you just look for reasons why you can? It takes the same amount of mental energy to look for reasons why you can't versus to look for reasons why you can. It takes the same energy. It takes the same time. It takes the same bandwidth from your brain. So instead of defaulting into excuses and reasons why you can't, what if, just play along with me here. Just what if you said, I can't afford organic food? What if you said, for example, I shop, for those of you in the US, I shop at Aldi's. I can get all of my groceries for somebody who eats 3,000 plus calories a day. I can get all of my groceries if I really nailed it down to like under 125 bucks a week. And I'm not saying that's nothing, but like that's a lot of fucking food. So could you shop at Aldi's? Could you go into the store and intentionally get the discounted items that are going to expire soon so you can eat those the same day or next day? Can you buy the store brand instead of buying the quote unquote organic brand? Like nobody ever said you got to go buy organic food. We said calories in, calories out. When you go to the fast food places, can you look at the calories and make sure they're within your calories for the day? Like all of these things, just if for one day, just one day, you looked for reasons why you can succeed. It's like if I told you, you know how if you want a car, you want to buy a car, that car is like all you see. It's like you go on the road, everywhere you go, you see that car. Why? You're looking for that car. Wherever you are right now in the world and in a room or whatever, if I told you, hey, I need you to find the 5 things that immediately catch your eye that are red. Go. Right now. Look for the 5 things that are red. All right, you found the 5 things? Okay. Now what if I told you immediately go find the 5 things that are blue? Go. Go look for things that are blue. You find these things much quicker because that's what you're looking for. So if you're looking for reasons why you can't, of fucking course you will find those. If you're looking for reasons why you can, of fucking course you will find those. So that's what I challenge you if you have the privilege objection. So guys, that was the podcast for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. For those of you who were on TikTok Live and who stayed for the duration of the podcast, I really appreciate you. You're the real MVP. And for those of you who are listening on audio or watching on YouTube when this gets released, I also appreciate you as well. And the very last thing I will say is, again, if you listen to this and you were like, this guy Eric, I just listened to him for 50 minutes. He's giving me some tough love. He knows what he's talking about. He's no BS. And I need some fucking help, which, by the way, it's okay to need help. Click the link in the show notes of the podcast to learn more about our online coaching program. And for you guys who are on TikTok Live, you can click the link in my bio to learn more about our online coaching program. We will work with you one-on-one to not only set up the plan that is made for you. So we talked earlier about if somebody has higher food noise versus lower food noise, they would need a different plan. If somebody has a higher metabolism versus slower metabolism, they would need a different plan. So if you not only want a personalized plan made for you, but you also want an expert coach there checking in, holding you accountable, making adjustments along the way, click the link in the show notes of the podcast or click the link in my bio to apply and sign up for our one-on-one online coaching. This is what I do. This is what we do. I've dedicated my entire life to this. Like I said, I've been doing this. I've been a personal trainer since 2016. I've been running my own business since 2020. I've coached over 25,000 people in that time. I like to think we're pretty fucking good at what we do. And what we do is get people results. So if you want that, you can click the link in the show notes, and we would love to be able to help you out. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And by the way, go ahead and share this podcast with somebody who you think would be helpful. Well, for those of you on TikTok Live, it'll be over. But you can head to and check out my podcast, the Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast, to learn more. Guys, hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will chat soon.